Anna! Anna!
With its unsettling backdrops and detailed world building, Tormented Souls 2 may look like a contemporary horror game, but don't let that modern dressing fool you. At its core beats the blackened, heart of stone cold classics like Resident Evil and Silent Hill, with all the treats and tricks that both endeared us to and enraged us about these formulaic survival horror games when they first gained popularity. Fixed camera angles? Check. Tank controls? Check. Insanely complex puzzles and even more bizarre story complete with cheesy dialogue?
Take it easy. You got me.
And a manual save system? Check, 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 and check. It makes Tormented Souls 2 a surprisingly faithful homage, bringing back all the stuff we loved about the genre, as well as many of the things we love to hate. Tormented Souls 2 picks up right after the events of its 2021 predecessor, but you don't have to have met the Walker sisters before to make sense of this sequel. That's partly because it tells a standalone story, and partly because it's so fantastical that nothing makes sense anyway. Sure, you may have questions about Caroline's fetching eye patch, but all you really need to know is she's searching for answers about her little sister Anna's terrifying visions and reality-bending drawings. For reasons that seem to exist exclusively in schlocky horror tales, that answer apparently sits somewhere in the depths of a creepy convent nestled in a far-flung location. Before Caroline even gets a chance to shrug off her exceedingly 90s leather jacket though, Anna goes missing and it's up to the older sibling to both find her sister and figure out what the hell is going on before it's too late, with an emphasis on the hell bit. As stories go, it's not unique, but the twists and turns of Tormented Souls 2's roughly 20-hour campaign are delightfully over the top in the same way the original Resident Evil games are. It's packed with cheesy dialogue, curious flavor text, and some truly bizarre encounters you can't help but smile at.
Well, you don't sound like you're from around here.
I'm Canadian.
Caroline's stay in the remote town of Villa Hesse takes you to a number of wonderfully grim places, including a processing plant, spooky school, abandoned mall, bunker, and the sprawling convent you start off in, keeping the creepy environments feeling fresh. And those environments are so detailed. Stuffed with interest and plenty of lore, Villa Hesse and its surroundings are such fascinating, atmospheric places to explore. You never know when a key item or a helpful tool may be secreted away in a hidden room somewhere, so it's always best to keep your curiosity piqued. While your investigation is sometimes interrupted by a bladed demon or shambling zombie, you'll find that enemies have a tendency to stay dead in Tormented Souls 2. Once you've cleared out an area, you're usually left to explore at your leisure. With little more than a flickering candle to guide the way though, it's a little too easy to miss things, whether it be overlooking a key clue or item, even in areas you thought you examined pretty closely. As is seemingly the law for old-school survival horror, the more you play, the more you'll find yourself opening up new routes to old places, providing access to rooms and entire areas that were previously blocked off. The backtracking will probably irk some people. There's a lot of it, particularly early on, but levels and fetch quests are well designed and usually rewarding, so it's hard to begrudge it. That said, there's a reason fixed camera angles and tank controls are considered relics of the past. Tormented Souls 2 pays homage to games like Resident Evil, Silent Hill 3, or Alone in the Dark in this way. But moving around Villa Hesse is frustrating even when there isn't a demon on your tail, with tight corridors and dead ends that make getting from one side of a building to the other unduly long-winded. Especially when you add in Caroline's fear of the dark. She'll freeze and start to hyperventilate if plunged into darkness for even a split second, dying completely if you leave her there for too long. You can't even put away your lighter to shatter a porcelain pot or smash open a wooden crate unless there's an ambient light source nearby, which there very often isn't. The lighter sure does add to the atmosphere though, which is almost continually tense and unnerving. As a primary source of life quite often, you'll have to proactively step into a room to illuminate what, if anything, is hiding in the shadows, which inevitably means unwittingly getting up close and personal with the denizens skulking around the place. It all falls apart a bit when there is something hiding in the dark though. Tormented Souls 2's combat isn't clumsy as much as it is enraging. The reliance on Caroline's lighter means you're often unarmed when something lunges at you, and the fixed camera angles and stiff character movement make it harder than it should be to retreat or create a little distance. Caroline protects herself with a range of acquired and improvised weapons, from a shotgun to a nail gun. Some of them can be upgraded to improve their rate of fire or reload speed, but they're still slow to use and difficult to wield accurately in a panic. Sure, it's a genre convention to ensure we feel weak and underpowered, but this could have been achieved through scarcer ammo or by throwing more enemies at you. Inefficient weapons and fixed cameras don't ramp up the tension as much as snap the immersion entirely. Perhaps unsurprisingly, that jankiness follows you into boss fights. One of the first you'll encounter, a giant nun, stomps around the room trying to batter you with a gigantic steel cross. But in that one single room, there are at least 3 different fixed camera angles, which means you may find yourself inadvertently sprinting towards your foe if the camera shifts while trying to put distance between you. This wouldn't be so bad if your shotgun held more than 2 shots at a time, or if the nun flinched with each hit, but she'll keep galloping like an aggravated rhino, which makes the camera feel like the real boss. Thankfully, for every underwhelming boss fight you're forced to endure, you'll happen across a good half-dozen puzzles which confuse and delight in equal measure. Tormented Souls 2 never felt closer to an old Resident Evil or Silent Hill game than when it makes you try to figure out how to open a door, or decode a cipher, or open the jaws of a dead shark for reasons you may never understand. Often deeply cryptic, maddeningly illogical, or potentially even completely unsolvable if you overlooked a clue somewhere. These puzzles are exactly what we want from a game like this, all the way down to the mini puzzles that ask you to combine specific items in your inventory. Yes, it's possible a few of these brain teasers will stump you for an embarrassing amount of time, but if that isn't old school survival horror, then what is? If you're nostalgic for the survival horror games of old, Tormented Souls 2 can provide a modern looking trip down memory lane, with all the good and bad that brings. It has a tense atmosphere to soak up and some gorgeously spooky locations to explore, but you'll need to push through janky combat and a bit of backtracking to enjoy them. Its esoteric puzzles test your brainpower in a way that could sometimes frustrate, but will also delight anyone who missed smashing key items together to see what would happen. There's a lot to enjoy here, as well as plenty that perhaps should have remained in the past, but Tormented Souls 2 still manages to stand as an entertaining callback to the adventures that made contemporary horror gaming what it is. For more, check out our reviews of The Outer Worlds 2 or Ninja Gaiden 4. And for everything else, stick with IGN.